Imagine stepping into a forest 300 million years ago. You'd probably be looking for dinosaurs. The problem is, dinosaurs didn't exist yet. In fact, if you had traveled back that far, the creatures that would terrify you most wouldn't have been reptiles at all. They would have been bugs. Not the tiny insects buzzing around your house today. I'm talking about dragonflies the size of birds, millipedes longer than a human, and scorpions the size of dogs. Welcome to the Carboniferous Period, one of the strangest chapters in Earth's history, and home to some of the weirdest arthropods that ever lived. Let's start with the ruler of the skies, Meganeura. At first glance, it looks like a dragonfly, until it takes off. Its wings stretched nearly 70 centimeters across. That's roughly the size of a falcon. Imagine standing in a swamp and hearing a loud buzzing overhead. You look up and something the size of a bird flies lands on your face. For millions of years, creatures like Meganeura dominated the skies. And because there were no birds, they had nothing to fear. And very few aerial predators were capable of catching them. But before we meet the next giant, there's a bigger mystery. How does a dragonfly become the size of a bird? How were insects this gigantic? Hold that thought. Because the answer to that is hidden in the air that you can't see. We'll come back to that. While giant insects ruled the skies, something even larger ruled the ground. Meet Arthropleura, the largest land arthropod ever discovered. This giant relative of modern millipedes could grow over 8 feet long. That's longer than many couches. Scientists believe that this giant armored crawler was probably a plant eater. But honestly, that probably wouldn't make you feel much better. Because seeing a millipede bigger than yourself is terrifying regardless of what it eats. And somehow, Earth's bug problem was still getting started, because lurking among the plants was another giant, Pulmonoscorpius, a prehistoric scorpion nearly 3 feet long. Today, most scorpions fit in the palm of your hand. This one could stretch across your entire arm. Scientists aren't completely sure what it hunted. But in a world filled with giant insects, there was certainly no shortage of prey. But giant dragonflies, millipedes, and scorpions weren't the only strange creatures living in the Carboniferous. Some insects looked so bizarre that scientists initially couldn't believe what they were looking at. Take Megarachne. When its fossil was first discovered, researchers thought they had found the largest spider that ever lived. A monster spider unlike anything the modern world had ever seen. The discovery made headlines around the world. There was only one problem. It wasn't actually a spider. Years later, scientists re-examined the fossil and discovered they had been wrong. Megarachne was actually a distant relative of sea scorpions. One of the biggest cases of mistaken identity in paleontology. But this still leaves one huge question. If giant insects once ruled the Earth, why don't we see them anymore? Why aren't dragonflies the size of birds flying around today? The answer wasn't hidden in the insects. It was hidden in the air. During parts of the Carboniferous Period, oxygen levels were much higher than they are today. Some estimates suggest oxygen made up more than 30% of the atmosphere. Today, it's only around 21%. That might not sound like a huge difference. But for insects, it changed everything. Unlike mammals, insects don't use lungs. Instead, oxygen travels through tiny tubes throughout their bodies. The more oxygen available in the atmosphere, the easier it became to support larger bodies. And insects took full advantage of that opportunity. The world became a paradise for giant arthropods. But it wasn't going to last forever. Over time, oxygen levels began to fall. The world changed. And the giants slowly disappeared. Many strange insect groups went extinct entirely. The age of giant bugs was coming to an end.